Superman, Spiderman, Batman. All those are comic heroes that we all read when we were kids, and I read them too, you know. Who's my favorite comic book? Probably Superman. You know why? Because he was able to fly. But you know what? Those superpowers were done by Jesus Christ. A lot of these powers. So let's list them and see what Jesus was able to do, because he is the only viable historical figure that we know for sure did supernatural. So let's list his superpowers just for fun of it, just to see, you know, what was he able to do. Number one, Jesus was able to walk on water. This is written in Mark chapter 6, verse 45 through 52. It also mentions in John chapter 6 as well. But so what happens is that he feeds the 5,000 people on the shore of Galilee, and then in the evening he kind of, you know, tells the crowd to go away or something like that, and he sends the disciples out into the sea, and he goes up the mountain to pray. And so the water, the storm comes in, or more like the rough winds come in, and disciples are going to start having to row against the wind. And so he sees finally that, you know, they're struggling. So he decides at this moment to go down the mountain and start walking on water, scared the bejeez out of them, because he's kind of walking by them like jokingly, like, let me just walk by them, see if they notice me walking on water. And they did, and like they thought it was a ghost. It terrified them. And so he just said, hey guys, I'm just messing with you. It's just me, Jesus. He had a sense of humor, I guess, right? But if he was able to walk on water, that means he defies the laws of gravity. If he defies the laws of gravity, that qualifies him to have, you know, flight. He was able to fly. Because either he is able to defy laws of gravity, or he is able to create his own gravitational field within himself somehow. Whichever way. I think he was able to fly. Number two, Jesus was able to control weather. In Mark chapter 4, verse 35 through 41, it talks about a story that happened to disciples and Jesus. So basically they went on a ship, Jesus fell asleep on the ship, and storm came along. I mean, this was some rough seas, right? It got so rough that, you know, disciples were scared for their life, basically. They're like, oh, what do we do? So finally they got some strength, because, you know, they're like, we know this guy can do a lot of stuff, but, you know, we don't want to keep bugging him for every little thing. So they finally did. Finally said, hey, Jesus, man, get up, man. We're kind of dying over here. So Jesus gets up, he looks around, understands what's going on. He just says, shh, and the wind just quiets down. Clouds just dissipate. I mean, imagine you sitting there like, what just happened? And at this point, disciples also said, who is this man? So, number two, he was able to control weather. Number three, Jesus was able to control the animal kingdom. Or at least, I guess, we're able to know what really is going on around him with animals. But since animals are simple souls, I think he was just simply able to control them. Anyway, this story is written in Luke chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. This is when he was calling his disciples, Peter, James, and John. On the shore, Jesus, as usual, was walking out and he was preaching. So he went into Simon Peter's boat and preached the word to the people. And then he told Peter, he's like, hey, let's go out and catch some fish. Peter was like, man, I just went out this night, all night long. I'm tired. But since, you know, you're telling me this, well, let's go. So they went out, and they, you know, sometime, I don't know, it just says into the deep water. They threw out the nets, and they were amazed at how much fish they've caught. And at that point, they realized that they're dealing with somebody here that's something more than they thought. This is a point where they finally, you know, threw down their business. When they, you know, got to shore, they pretty much, we're done with this. Let's go follow this guy. And he even told them, like, you're going to become fishers of man. That was number three, guys. Control animal kingdom. Number four, Jesus was able to convert one type of a food into a different type of a food. This happened in John chapter 2. This was actually his first miracle. John chapter 2, verse 1 through verse 11. He basically went to his friend's wedding. His mom was there, some of his disciples were there, and they kind of ran out of wine, you know. And so mom, for some reason, came to Jesus, said, she probably knew something was going on with Jesus, that he was able to do certain things. In any case, she told him, hey, Jesus, can you take care of this? He's like, woman, what do I have to do with it? It's not my time yet. She trusted him and she left. So he's like, fine. He told people to fill the jugs with water, and then he just simply said, hey, take this water to the master of the banquet. And so they did, and the master of the banquet was amazed. He's like, this is like the best one I have ever tasted before, Like when you go to McDonald's and you eat a burger, and you're like, this burger's junk, man. And you convert it to some kind of a delicacy, into like a steak from, I don't know, what's a good rib house or something like that. Boom, and it's there, like, this is the best stuff I've ever eaten. That's a cool power to have. I don't know how many superheroes are out there, but I think they should invest the comic book market, industry. They should probably think about a person who's able to convert food from one type to the next type and have fun with it, I guess, But that's number 4. He was able to convert food, manipulate, I shouldn't say even manipulate, because how do you turn water into wine? Literally, it's just supernatural. It's just outside of our physics. Number 5, again, deals with food, and basically he was able to multiply the food. John chapter 6, verse 1 through 14. Jesus was out by the Sea of Galilee somewhere, and multitudes of people came there because they knew Jesus was able to do miraculous signs and wonders and stuff like that. So they came over there, and Jesus kind of saw 5,000 people were there. And he's like, how are we going to feed him? And he was kind of testing Philip, like, hey, Phil, how are we going to feed these people? Because Philip was around from that area. But, he knew what he was going to do, what he was going to do. And so Andrew had to kind of jump in and say, hey, we got some kid over here with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And so he grabbed those fish and that bread, blessed it, put people down, and gave it as much as people wanted to eat. Literally, I don't know how you duplicate stuff like that. You're duplicating matter somehow. So there you go. He was able to multiply food. So if he was able to multiply food, what else can he multiply? That's a good question. Number 6. We all know this one. In comics, we have people who are able to heal others, or maybe have healing factors. Well, Jesus was able to heal people, and this is probably the greatest thing he's known for, is that he's able to heal so many people. Just a small little story, Matthew chapter 8, verse 1 through 4. There was a disease called leprosy. It's in today's day, I think it doesn't even have a cure today. And so a man, came to him and says, hey, Lord Jesus, if you're willing to, make me clean. He says, I'm willing. Boom. He was healed right there and then. And he just told him to go, show yourself to the priest to make sure, kind of like today, go to a doctor. Let that be a testimony to you. So he had great healing powers. So that's number 6, guys, healing. Number 7, Jesus was able to control spirits. We see a lot of movies today that these powers are given to, people, wizards, witches, and, some, I don't know if they're superheroes, but some demonic good guys in a way. Well, Jesus was able to do this also. In Matthew chapter 8, verse 28 through 34, there's a story about, Jesus casting out a legion of demons, enormous amount of demons. So basically, he was walking down the road, and these 2 men who were possessed by these demons, by this legion of demons, they ran up to him. And it's not like they attacked them, because there was no man who was able to capture these people or contain them, because it says they put chains on them, they ripped them. They run up to Jesus and says, Jesus, what do you want with us? Don't send us to the pit of hell. Oh, kind of like this bright light shining at them. Basically, Jesus I'm gonna have to send you to hell or to the bottomless pit at this point. He said, please don't do it. Send us to those pigs. So he does. Pigs don't like it. They run off the hill and jump into the water and attempt a suicide, basically. And that's the story. And this is not the only story. He cast out many demons out of a lot of people. So he was able to command demons to get out of people and cast them out into the depth of darkness. That's number 7 for you guys. Number 8, Jesus was able to talk to the dead. You know, you have palm readers, all these other seers, and they deal with the stuff, witches. Well, Jesus was able to talk to the dead as well. There's a story in Luke chapter 9, verse 28 through verse 36, and it's the transfiguration on a mount. He took his close disciples, Peter, John, and James, with him to pray. And at that point, maybe disciples fell asleep. Elijah and Moses appeared with Jesus, and they were talking. And when the disciples woke up, they kind of saw them, I don't know, in physical form or some kind of a vision form. And they're like, whoa, like we're seeing, Elijah and Moses. I'm not even sure how they knew it was Elijah and Moses, but maybe Jesus said, hey, Moses, or something like that. But that happened. And they went to pitch tents over there. Say, hey man, let's stay here. This is so great. Elijah's here, Moses is here. And then a great cloud came, swallowed up the 2 visions, and left Jesus alone, and stated, this is my son, follow what he says. So, number 8, guys, Jesus was able to talk to the dead. The last 2 powers are probably the greatest powers that any superhero can have. We usually see a lot of horror flicks about people raising dead people to life. But in Jesus' case, it was a wonderful experience where he raised people from the dead and brought them back to life, back to their families. In John chapter 11, from verse 1 all the way to verse 53, it's a long story, and it's a story about Lazarus. Jesus was out and about elsewhere, not in Bethany. Lazarus was from Bethany with Martha and Mary. And so a word gets to him that Lazarus is sick. But Jesus doesn't really go back, because from the text it tells him that this is an emergency. This is not something to take lightly. But he, in any case, takes 2 days still to stick around, and then he finally goes back to Judea. And so when he gets there, actually he tells the disciples, Lazarus is falling asleep. They misunderstand him, and he says, no, you don't get me. He is dead. And so they go back there. When he gets there, he is dead, and he is in the tomb for 4 days already. And so basically he just stands around the tomb and says, Lazarus, wake up. And he wakes up. He was literally mummified already. Not really mummified, but he was wrapped in this special burial cloth and strips and stuff like that. And he walks out. He walks out alive. So there was no chance that this man was sleeping, He was really dead. So number 9, Jesus was able to revive people from the dead. Finally, number 10, the greatest gift or the greatest superpower that anybody could ever have. It resolves the issue of humanity, which plagued humanity since the beginning of Adam and Eve, basically. And it is death. Jesus has the power to control death, or has power over death. Death could not hold him. He was resurrected and he became alive. He showed himself to disciples and 400 other witnesses. And one of the passages that comes to my mind is in Luke chapter 24, verse 39. And it basically says, look at me, guys. Look at my hands. Why do you doubt? Touch me. Ghosts don't have physical bodies. And basically, this is the greatest gift that we can possibly have, greatest hero that we can possibly worship, and knowing that he is God, also not just a man, not just truly a man, he is truly a God, that he is able to have power within himself to raise himself up, to show that he is God and have power over death. So guys, this is number 10, the greatest superhero power that anybody can have in a sense. The greatest superhero that walked the earth is Jesus Christ, that had power over death. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and see you guys next time.